Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we are jumping into something pretty unique. It's a legal document, a revised motion to compel, filed in federal court. But this isn't your standard filing at all. It kind of mixes together, the complex details of civil procedure with ancient scripture, spiritual texts even. So our mission here for this deep dive is really to unpack this thing. It's from Joshua Haltom v. City of Henderson, TN Police Department. We want to look at the legal arguments, sure, but also these really surprising elements that a pro se plaintiff, that someone representing himself, no lawyer has brought into the courtroom. You'll see how he's trying to force them to hand over evidence, demanding accountability, but using a framework you probably wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it's fascinating. What really jumps out is how the document frames these demands. It's not just citing federal rules. It actually talks about a divine principle from the book of Isaiah. And it uses that to challenge the very idea of authority and truth in, a modern court setting. It's bold.
Okay, right. Let's get into the specifics then. So Joshua Haltom, acting pro se, he served these things called discovery requests on the Henderson Police Department. This was around June 15th, 2025.
Standard procedure, usually.
Well, standard-ish. Discovery requests are basically formal demands for information from the other side in a lawsuit. But these weren't routine. Not at all. He specifically asked for body cam footage from a particular date, April 19th, 2024, and an audio recording from March 5th, 2025. And also, this is key certified copies of the oaths of office for all the public officials involved.
Okay, the oaths, that's where it gets really interesting, legally speaking. Why focus so much on those oaths? Well, the motion argues, and it cites actual laws like federal statute 28 U.S.C. section 453 and a Tennessee state code, that the oath is what gives someone authority. It's what makes an individual into a lawful public servant. Without that oath being valid and on file, he claims their actions are, void.
Void, like they never happened, legally.
Essentially, yeah. He even cites a really old Supreme Court case, Norton v. Shelby County from 1886. The idea there is that actions taken by officials who don't have the proper legal authority, maybe because they didn't take the oath correctly or at all, can be treated as null. So he's using this to try and separate who he calls lawful witnesses from unlawful actors.
Wow, okay. That's a really fundamental challenge to their authority. But, how often does that kind of argument actually work in court today, saying everything is void because of an oath?
That's a great question. So the principle from Norton is definitely real. It's established law. But applying it that broadly, claiming all actions are void just based on an oath, that's generally, let's say, an uphill climb in most modern courts. It's an argument you sometimes see, especially from pro se litigants trying to undermine the system's base authority. But judges tend to look at the specific context, established procedures. It's not usually a slam dunk.
Right, that makes sense. Good context. Okay, so that's the oath part. But then the motion takes this, almost spiritual turn. He says the defendant, the police department, didn't respond to his discovery requests for over 30 days. That's a basic deadline violation.
Standard stuff, yeah. Grounds for a motion to compel.
Exactly. But he doesn't just focus on the rules. He quotes Isaiah, chapter 43, verses 8 and 9, something like, "Bring forward the blind people that have eyes, and the deaf that have ears." And he uses this scripture to argue that the police, by not providing the evidence, are making themselves willfully blind and deaf to the truth. It's quite poetic in a legal filing.
It really is. It reframes a procedural failure as a kind of moral or spiritual failing.
And then, maybe the most unexpected part. He says he placed 48 volumes of the Zohar into the court record.
48 volumes. The Zohar.
Yeah. The Zohar, the foundational text of Jewish mysticism, Kabbalah. He didn't just mention them. He apparently submitted them physically, describing it as a diplomatic and spiritual gesture. And get this, he wants them to serve as material witnesses to the principles of truth and covenant.
Material witnesses, 48 books. That's not how evidence or witnesses usually work in federal court. You have testimony, documents, physical evidence, but books as witnesses. That's pushing the boundary.
Definitely unconventional. So how does this all tie together in what he's asking the court to do? What's the prayer for relief?
Well, it pulls all these threads together. He asks the court first to grant the motion, obviously, then order the police to produce the body cam and audio within 48 hours, and the reason, to, quote, expose their deliberate sensory deprivation of the truth. He's using that blindness, deafness theme again.
Good call.
And also order the certified oaths within 48 hours. This is to confirm if they are, in his words, lawful witnesses or just people acting with usurped authority. Back to that oath argument. But the real kicker is asking the court to take judicial notice of those 48 Zohar volumes. Judicial notice means the court accepts something as fact without needing formal proof. He wants the court to formally recognize these mystical texts as material witnesses. It's a really bold move, trying to get the court to operate within his unique framework of truth and justice.
Wow. So wrapping this up, what's the takeaway for you listening to this? I think this deep dive into Haltom's motion really gives us this rare window into how, standard legal procedure can collide with deeply personal, even spiritual beliefs. And it really makes you think about the whole concept of a witness in court.
Absolutely. It shows how someone, especially representing themselves, might see and use the law through a totally different lens. And it kind of poses a bigger question, doesn't it? In this age where everyone's talking about transparency and accountability, what happens when the usual legal tools meet arguments based on, well, let's call them unconventional sources of authority or evidence like, the Zohar?
Yeah, it really makes you think. So maybe the question for you to ponder is, when does something, or even someone, become a material witness? And just how many different shapes can truth actually take when people are fighting for justice?
When you're crushing on my dreams and you're making me so